Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritually Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of December 11th to December 17th. So, just a quick little disclaimers here in the intro. One, if you did a reading, if you purchased a reading from me that last week of November, those are going to start to go out this week. I had a bunch of them that I ended up doing throughout the week this week. And then whenever I got to Friday, there was a major day of downloads between the moon's conjunction to the south node and the moon square to Pluto. I had a lot of downloads of things that I have to do in my personal life that I ended up having to take care of. So I ended up not dealing with a whole lot with clients on Friday. I'm recording episodes on Saturday, and the next thing that I wanted to do as a quick disclaimer as to some of where we're going next is I am intuitively blocked. This is normal. This is normal to me. If I wanted to sit here and super dwell on everything, I'm sure I can unblock it but then it's not necessarily going to be as clear, or there's still the chance that ego gets in the way and it messes up. So if I'm intuitively blocked, that does not bother me. But if you're just now starting to listen to me, I mean, that can be kind of a trigger for some people. They're like, what do you mean you're blocked? It's very, very normal. This just means that some of the human effect and the decisions tied to whatever is about to happen this week has not occurred at the time that I'm recording. That's not a bad thing. I am a firm believer that free will is still very much a thing. The transits are there, but the transits are always taking us to a fork in the road. And we have a choice of either being one where we react to everything or respond to everything. And the whole idea of astrology is to be able to understand how to respond versus react, because this keeps us on the higher ground. Just to be clear, there are elements of this week that I'm not completely clear to. I can pick up part of it. There's a lot of anxiety to this week. There's going to be a lot of things that are being met with resistance this week. But the human effect of the decisions to all of that has not taken place yet. So, intuitively, in some ways, I'm blocked. That's okay. I'm just giving you guys fair warning, so if some parts of this episode feels a little different than the last ones, that's why. That's why. Okay. We had a very helpful healing energy that did take place over the weekend, and parts of that energy are still carrying into Monday. Venus made an opposition to Jupiter. And I said last week, whatever happens between the Venus-Jupiter opposition is something that plays into the start of Jupiter's turnaround. The start. Not the complete turnaround, but the start of something. Jupiter is going to reach 5 degrees this week. And the 5-degree mark of Taurus is very heavily activated. I've said this based off of multiple episodes before. There's a lot of things that have gone on at that 5-degree of Taurus mark. And now, as of this week, we're going to start having Jupiter there for an entire month solid. It starts on December 15th. It's going to last until January 15th. And there's going to be some very hopeful turnaround that comes from that. But to be crystal clear, I don't feel like we're going to see a lot of the hopeful, full aspects of that turnaround until next month. I feel like this month, we're still going to be in a fog. We're still going to be confused. There's going to be elements that we don't completely understand. Part of that is because, again, other people need to make the decisions. Some of us, they are making decisions. Certain things have come about that when other people find out about it, they're not going to be excited about it. We might be excited in the moment, but they might not be excited. In a lot of ways, there will be elements to this week that are going to be met with resistance. The more resistant we are, the more tension can build. The more tension builds, the more frustration can build. And adding into an element that parts of this week are going to be heavy with mental confusion and mental fog. Thanks, Neptune. Mental fog. That's going to make some parts of this week very volatile. The more unclear you are to a situation, the more unclear you are to a person and their actions, the more unclear we are, the harder it is to feel sure about something. So if you're going through parts of this week and you're just not sure what the hell is going on, you are normal. You're normal. And in some ways, I don't feel like we're going to break through parts of the fog that's going to set in after the new moon, because it's going to happen after the new moon. Until we get into the weekend, specifically once the moon goes into Pisces. That one's going to have a lot of feels to it. There's going to be a lot of emotion to that one. But we're not there quite yet. In Venus's opposition to Jupiter over the weekend, for a lot of people, there was an olive branch. There was an opportunity to connect or reconnect, an opportunity to heal, some type of situation that we're not quick to jump at. We're not quick to respond to. We're not quick to go, okay, I'm game. There's a reluctancy. There's a mental reluctancy. There's a hope reluctancy. There's a reluctancy all the way around in regards to how we feel philosophically, how we feel in our emotions. There can be a hesitancy. Now, is everybody going through hesitancy all at the same time? No. Some people are going to jump at the opportunity because, again, we're so sick of just waiting for something to happen. And they're going to jump at it. Over the weekend, they jumped on something. And if they haven't thought that out very well, it has not been thought through, better way to say it, then we're going to tell some people about this new great thing that we just jumped on, and they are going to be meeting us with resistance. Because again, it's not been well thought out. The thing about Jupiter's energy is that we can all become very, very hopeful that it's all going to be sunshine and rainbows. It's going to be so great. But it's not always sunshine and rainbows. And there's a reason that Jupiter has to work within the bounds of Saturn. It's because Saturn can be a reality check. And the Mercury retrograde is going to start in Saturn's sign. There's going to be a reality check. Is it all going to happen at once? No. Not at all. Some of us are going to be hopefully in emotion to turn something around, and another person's going to be like, and who's responsible? And who's in charge of this? And who has to take care of this? And who's got to put this all in order? And who's got to do what? And don't you think I got enough to do? I'm going to take care of everything. How many times have y'all worked in a situation, because I have done this plenty of times, where the boss says, I'll take care of everything. And then you know damn well next week is going to be on your plate. Yeah, this is that kind of week. The boss has a great idea. Mom has a great idea. Husband has a great idea. And you ain't about it. Somebody's not about it. Somebody doesn't feel the same way. And it's going to lead to a fog. It's going to lead to confusion. It's going to result in mental frustration. And it's going to result in two people that would normally be on the same page with one another to suddenly not be on the same page. And that energy of not being on the same page initiates between the new moon in Sagittarius and Mercury turning retrograde. Exact. That oppositional energy of two people that would normally be on the same page suddenly not, that comes through based off of the fact that Mercury will start its retrograde in an Antiscia to the sun. Now, if you are not familiar with what Antiscias are, go watch the Mercury retrograde video that I recorded. I actually recorded it earlier today when I'm recording this. I do a whole little stint of explaining and showing what an Antiscia is. Two people that would normally be working together, that would normally be on the same page, are not in agreement. One person is super hopeful that everything's going to go a certain way, and the other person's calling them on their shit. They're like, no, you didn't think this out. You didn't plan well. There's some element of this that it's not right. And it's gonna play into how the week progresses. Now, Monday is its own energy compared to the rest of the week. The new moon is actually going to happen on Tuesday. The Mercury retrograde starts on Wednesday. I'm telling you, Monday's energy, not the rest of the week. It's a whole different place. And in Monday's energy, in a lot of ways, we're going to be still wrapping up some of the energy from the weekend. Specifically, parts of that Venus-Jupiter opposition. So let's take a look at the week. Let's get into Monday. Monday. I've got this at 5:30 in the morning. Why do I have it at 5:30? Because that's when the moon goes into Sagittarius. The moon actually goes into Sagittarius at 5:11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So here's the moon. Upon entering Sagittarius, the moon is also going to start its square to Saturn. This is going on as Venus and Jupiter are wrapping up their opposition. They're almost a full 2 degrees apart, but not quite. As the day progresses, they will hit the 2-degree point. Usually we look at 3 degrees for separation, but we're still in the Venus-Jupiter opposition here. And some element of whatever took place for us in that Venus-Jupiter opposition is going to be a part of Mercury's turnaround as today progresses. So let's continue. Again, the moon's going to square Saturn. That goes the most exact between 7 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So here's the moon at 1 degree. Here's Saturn at 1 degree. Here's a moon, Saturn square in Jupiter's sign. There is a questioning about how to heal, how to turn something around, how to do something different, whether we should do something different. How do we begin something? What's gone on in the past? There's a reflective energy. For some people, this is going to be completely internal. For some people, this has nothing to do with the weekend, and it's something going on externally, and it's talking to the boss. It's talking to an authority figure. It's talking to an elder. It's talking to somebody. And we're asking how to progress. Now, for some people, we're the Saturnian ones, and somebody's coming into the office and sitting across from us going, how do we do this? What's next in the process? What's next for me? What do we do next? And we need to advise. Some of us, we are the Saturnian ones. And whenever it comes to Monday morning, you're going to know really quick which one you are. If you are the one giving the advice, telling somebody how to do something, what to do, when to do it next, you are Saturn. If you are the one going in trying to get advice on how to get something to progress and how to turn something around and how to work through something, then you're the moon. Very easy. Now, this perfects early in the morning. And then whenever we get into the afternoon, we're going to have something that happens exactly. It's going to happen between 1 and 1:30. So I'm going to move this up to 1:30 and you'll see what I'm talking about. And that is Venus is going to have her second sextile to Mercury. It's the second one. We had one back in November. Ironically, still at the 8-degree mark, but it was not the 8 degrees of these signs. Venus was at 8 degrees of Libra. Mercury was at 8 degrees of Sag. And both of these two were in what's known as a quincunx to Jupiter. So 2 people, 2 situations were starting to communicate, were starting to do something, but another party wasn't ready. Another party wasn't involved. Jupiter wasn't involved. Jupiter was not supportive. Jupiter was not on the same page as of yet. But over the last week, both Mercury and Venus have made contact with Jupiter. Last week, Mercury had a trine to Jupiter. Over the weekend, Venus had opposition. Loosely, Venus is still in her opposition in this moment. It's still only 2 degrees. And Venus is going to enter the second sextile with Mercury. now having had Jupiter's influence involved. Venus is also looking at Mercury, who is stationing. Mercury's stopped moving. Mercury is starting to turn around. Mercury is stuck at 8 degrees. But Venus is in a place of being able to express how she feels. And some of us are going to be in a moment where we can tell somebody how we feel about a situation, how something went down in the past, how we got hurt, how something went wrong. And this energy between Venus and Mercury leads to a mental turnaround whenever it comes to Mercury, because Mercury is about to turn retrograde. If you are just now reconnecting with somebody from the past, or you're in the process of reconnecting with somebody from the past, sometimes it's a process because, again, people are resistant to change. This is explaining how we felt. This is telling somebody, your actions made me feel a certain way. I felt like I got in trouble. I felt like I got punished. I felt like I was the one that did something wrong, and I didn't do anything to you. You just ran. You just stopped talking one day. You just quit coming home. You quit listening to me. That wasn't what really happened. I'm sorry you feel that way. I don't want an apology. I want changed actions. I want a change in your demeanor. I want a change in you. I want to see a change. And some people are going to want to commit to change. And again, if we're in that kind of moment, baby step energy. Baby steps. The entire month is about transitions. The entire month. The whole thing. Baby steps. Baby steps. If we are dealing with something about expressing our emotions, expressing how something went in the past, expressing something that bothered us, and communicating something, because whatever talk is going on between the Venusian energy and the Mercurial energy in this moment changes Mercury's opinion. It changes the way Mercury sees something. Because in the next 36 hours, Mercury is going to turn retrograde. So there is something very profound that can be spoken about that changes our opinion of something or someone come Monday. It's the most exact around 1:30 in the afternoon. But the human effect is Mercury and Venus and their sextile is going to be going all day. All day. All day. All day. Now, the other thing that's going on Monday, and I'm going to say it now, it plays into the new moon's energy and it plays into some of what's about to happen. And that is the sun is in a quincunx to Uranus. This is perfecting during the new moon, like actually right before the new moon. But there's something here that whatever's unfolding, whatever is taking shape, whatever is shifting, whatever is changing, not everybody is involved. Not everybody is aware or privy, or not everybody's excited about it. It's Uranus. And considering some of the mental energy that's about to unfold, not everybody excited about it feels like the most prevalent. If we're in the process of having a conversation with somebody and trying to change their opinion, of trying to get them to see something a different way, of trying to pull their head out of their ass, because that's how I like to describe things sometimes. When you tell somebody else that, hey, we're going to start over again. Hey, I'm going to start hanging out with my sister more. Hey, I'm going to start hanging out with my best friend from childhood again. In some ways, you're going to hear some people going, oh, well, that's really exciting, babe. I'm so happy for you. But then there's going to be those other people going, what are you thinking? Like, didn't she steal from you? Didn't she do this? Didn't this happen? I know. I get it. We're trying to make amends. It's a terrible idea. There will be somebody that is not excited about this turnaround, about what's starting to shift. They're going to be resistant. Put that in your brain. Okay. Again, the Venus-Mercury sextile, that's the most exact in mid-afternoon. After that, there's really not a whole lot in the exact transits going on. It's just kind of, this is the energy that we're in all day. And we're going to get into Tuesday. Now, this is the day of the new moon in Sag. It's not going to perfect until the afternoon. Between 3 and 5 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to make a conjunction to Mars. So I've got this at 3:30. Here's the moon, 12 degrees, 35 minutes. Here's Mars, 12 degrees, 55 minutes. It hasn't gone exact yet. It's about to go exact. It's close enough for where I want it at right now. Some of us are going to wake up feeling a rush of adrenaline. Now, if you went to bed at a normal hour Monday evening, sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, oh my God, why do I keep waking up at 3 a.m.? This is one of those days that we could just magically wake up at 3 a.m. going, why am I awake? The moon and Mars. If you have people that work overnight hours, this is where we can have tensions and frustrations, and we can have like cutting situations that like arrive in the ER. That's not even a joke. There can be a sudden disruption based off of the energies at hand that plays into the energy of the new moon, but not necessarily, this is not necessarily the new moon. This can also be just like a confirmation, like I said, that we wake up feeling an adrenaline rush, feeling like we're going to take an action, feeling like we're doing something. Some of us are going to be waking up at 3 something in the morning, very, very mad at ourselves for waking up that early. Other people, it's just going to be an early morning wake up, or we're just restless overnight. We can't sleep. That's a normal thing whenever Mars is involved in the transits. Okay. After the Moon-Mars conjunction, there's not a whole lot going on until we get to the new moon. So the new moon is actually going to perfect at 5:32 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm just going to get this to 5:38, and that's fine. Here's the new moon in Sagittarius. This new moon, again, is in a quincunx to Uranus. So there's something that we're starting that's not going to be a fast start. It is a slow start. It is a slow churn. It is a slow burn. It is a slow turnaround. And again, it's being met with questioning. It's getting met with resistance. It's getting met with a change in our thought process. That perfection is happening right here with the new moon. The change in our thought process is happening overnight from the 12th going into the 13th. So let me keep going, and then I'll explain this a little bit further. Here's the new moon. Right as we get to that midnight hour, the moon is going to hit a square to Neptune. So I've got this at 11:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I bumped this to 1:30. The moon will still be in a square to Neptune. The difference is going to be Mercury. So 1:30 in the morning, 12:30 in the morning, Mercury is direct. 1:30 in the morning, Mercury is retrograde. It actually goes retrograde at 1:10 a.m. Central Standard Time as the moon is going through its square to Neptune. The other thing that's also starting is the sun will have a prolonged energy of squaring Neptune this week. There is something that we are starting that is going to be met with confusion. There is something that we are trying to begin that is going to be met with resistance. In a lot of ways, it's met with resistance. Now, are we all going through the most negative thing possible? No. However, there is a small chance for some of us that Mercury's retrograde is not... If people have been resistant, this is the change of their opinion. And it can go this way too. This is all going to kind of come down to how it lays out in our personal charts and where we are at in our personal karma and where we are at with our personal responsibility. That's going to be a big one here. If you have had a boss that has not been taking responsibility, that is just willy-nilly, oh, we're going to start this great thing, and we have absolutely no rhyme or reason or plan to any of it, because he doesn't know how to implement everything. He just delegates and makes everybody else do it. Not speaking from experience there at all. Then this is like, I'm going to debut this grand thing and we're going to start next week. And the whole staff goes, the hell we are. No, we're not. Because it was not well thought out. It is not well planned. It is not well being handled. And everybody meets with resistance right then. 1:30 in the morning, not necessarily. But if he announces something Tuesday or Wednesday, yes. He, she, whoever. Vice versa. If you have been heavily responsible and you've been putting things in the right way and putting things in the right order and keeping with a momentous flow, and you've been catching people's attention, but their attention is in the right way, this can be a different type of change of opinion. It all kind of comes down to, again, personal karma and personal responsibility. Some people will be met with people that would never trust you. I'm going to use me as an astrologer. There you go. I have so many people in my life. They're like, I love you. I trust you, but I don't believe in this crap. And that's it. Okay. I don't push. It's like, okay, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. We don't have to talk about it. Oh. And usually we can squash it right then. But if you have somebody that's going through a really weird energy, this is also going to be whenever people that have been resistant to the idea of like anything woo-woo or fun or crazy or like that, they're going to suddenly go, hey, let's talk about that astrology stuff. I want to talk to you. What? If you've been diligently working on something and people have not been interactive, I'm not going to say not supportive, but not being interactive with it, all of a sudden the Mercury retrograde is going to flip the script and people will be like, hey, can you tell me about the thing? Can you show me the thing? Can you work with me? Can we do this? Can you help a girl out? The hell you... Where you been hiding? There's a flip to the script. There's a flip, there's a flip, there's a flip. Positive and negative, there can be mixes of both. It really kind of comes down to where we're at in our personal karma. However, Mercury is feeling very, very stuck, spinning at 8 degrees. So there will be people that are mentally stuck. Now, the other thing that's going to occur on the 13th, it's not exact here. It's not exact actually for a few more hours, but I'm still going to freaking talk about it. And that is the Antiscia between Mercury and the Sun. The Antiscia is, again, a hidden opposition, where people that would normally not be a part of something, would normally not be against it, would normally not be seeing in this situation, thinking in this way, thinking in this mindset, suddenly are. And again, this Mercury retrograde for some people is going to initiate days of resistance and frustration. For other people, this is going to initiate days of reconsideration and reconciliation. It really kind of comes down to personal choice, personal karma, and your own levels of personal responsibility. This can be a very, very intricate Mercury retrograde, or this can be a hellacious Mercury retrograde. If you, again, have used this energy as a way to respond versus react, taking the high road and doing the responsible things, then this Mercury retrograde can be really helpful up until the 2 days that I've already talked about at length multiple times, and that is December 26th and 27th. But right here, it can be useful. We can work through people's hesitancies. It really kind of comes down to where we're at in the situation. Okay. Mercury just turned retrograde. Good morning, everybody. We're going to be confused. We're not going to be quick to get anything going on Wednesday morning. We're going to be in a fog. We're going to be feeling a little weird. It's not going to be easy. People are going to be mentally confused. At 9:32 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon's going to go into Capricorn. And in some element, one layer of the confusion that has been there overnight is going to fall away. And a more serious tone can take over, but there's still an element of not receiving the newness very, very well. Not understanding it well. We need time to focus. We need time to process. Not everybody's had a time to process. Kind of depends on what just got debuted during the new moon. Okay. The moon will make a sextile to Saturn between 11:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So you can see this right here. Here's the moon. Here's Saturn. The moon is in Saturn's sign. Saturn is in Jupiter's sign. So again, levels of trying to understand what the hell's going on. I really think I'm going to be very busy during this Mercury retrograde. I'm not even going to lie about that. What is going on? Can you help me understand? Can you help me make sense of this? What is going on? This is not a square. This is not a questioning. This can be reminders. We can be setting a plan or a goal in motion whenever it comes to moon's sextile to Saturn. We can talk in a few days. We can talk next week. We can meet next week. I can do something with you in a few days. I can't do it with you today. There's a lingering effect of wanting to do something, but initially not getting the full reaction or full conversation that we're wanting to have, but still having something there, giving trajectory, giving a future intention. Okay. After the moon's sextile to Saturn, there's not a whole lot of lunar transits going on. Again, very easily distracted, very easily not being clear on some things until we get into the evening. And between 7 and 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Capricorn is going to hit a trine to Jupiter right up here. Jupiter is 6 degrees 4 minutes retrograde. The moon is at 6 degrees 28 minutes. It's there. The moon is starting to enter its conjunction to Mercury, but it's not going to go exact until right after midnight. There is this energy of, again, wanting to establish something, wanting to make a hopeful connection, trying to build something further. We're taking baby steps in a new beginning, knowing that it's going to be met with confusion, knowing that not everybody's going to be super excited. Like, hey, how was your day? It was great, but I told so-and-so that you and I are talking and he's mad at me. Piss on him. Probably not needed to say that. Don't act like Dusty in that regard. Dusty would say that. There can be some element of just like, well, it's not his to understand. It's not his situation. There needs to be a bridge of some sort. And for a lot of people, when the moon hits this trine to Jupiter, being so close to Mercury, this can reactivate some of the things that did happen last week when Mercury was in its trine to Jupiter. And that again was Thursday, Friday of last week. This can reactivate some of the elements, and part of those elements can speak back to, again, there was an olive branch from the weekend. There was a guide. There was a healing conversation. There was something helpful from the weekend. This can be the next layer of that. For some people, it has nothing to do with the weekend. It just has to do with like making a supportive connection. Hey, I just want to see how you're doing. Hey, I just want to check on you. hey, I've had something come up. With Mercury newly retrograde, there can be a hopeful connection based off of the mental shift, the mental turnaround, the change in our mind. This can be one element of that hopeful connection. The next one would be whenever we get to the moon's conjunction to Mercury, and that's whenever we start to get into the 14th. Let me pop my pages over. They're sticking. So the moon is actually going to make its conjunction to Mercury. It goes the most exact between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. So 11 p.m. on the 13th, 1 a.m. on the 14th. I'm at 12:30 right here. You can see the moon is just past its conjunction with Mercury. Again, something here. Now, this can also make us very mentally busy. If we are so adamantly against something that has just come through, this can be us trying to come to terms and get something figured out, putting a plan in motion of how to counterbalance a situation. The fact that we would need to have a counterbalance is very counterintuitive, but this is a counterintuitive energy. Sometimes we have to have a CYA mentality. This is that. Some people were going to come to terms with a change in our mindset. We can see the little synchronistic patterns forcing us to change our mind, forcing us to look a certain way, forcing us to talk about something. And we can make the decision to talk about something with somebody. Now that Mercury is retrograde, it'll be somebody from the past, somebody that we have a past connection with. This is not new people energy. It's not. There's a lot of past things going on. Okay. Between 4 and 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, Venus is going to make a sextile to the moon. Again, there's something about the overnight hours of the 13th and 14th that really keeps speaking back to me, that tell me that it's like the next layer of things from the weekend. We've had a change in our mindset. We know people are not necessarily for it. We know not everybody's going to be okay with it, but we're feeling secure in our change of mind and our change decision. Venus in the sextile to the moon. It's explaining how we feel about something. It's taking a serious account of a plan of how we move forward, while also still rehashing whatever we need to get over and healing. So there's this big mental energy of like, we got to get over the past, but to get over the past, we need to talk about it. And once we talk about it, we can get over the past, and we can finally move forward. And there's this big energy of like, this is how we move forward. This is where we go from there. This is how we can start something. This is how we can revise some things. Some people will be resistant to change. Other people are living in the changes that are necessary right now. Okay. As we get through the 14th, the next thing that's going to happen, and we can have kind of like an adrenaline boost or some excitement that kind of comes through as we continue the day. But whenever we get to the evening time, this is going to go the most exact between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. The moon is going to hit a trine to Uranus. I want to be super clear about something for the next 2 months. We need to be a lot more aware of these connections with Uranus, because they're going to start to tell us something. Trines are meant to be helpful. They're of the nature of Jupiter. They're meant to be supportive. This is exciting. There's an excitement here. There's something that starts to unfold between the evening of the 14th and the morning of the 15th that allows for where we've been mentally stuck to become unstuck in one way, but we're also very, very confused in another. And it's such a weird energy to be in, but here's why. The moon hitting this trine to Uranus, this is all an earth sign. So there's something tangible, there's something very authoritative, and there's something planned, and there's something here about how we can get something adjusted because Uranus is retrograde. In the overnight hours of the 14th going into the 15th, Mercury is going to finally get off the 8-degree mark where he's been for days. So in one way, we get a mental trajectory, we get some type of plan, we get something worked through in this time span, so late 14th, early into the 15th. But the other thing that's, we can get mentally clear on one thing, but then we're still foggy and confused on another, and that's because of the sun entering its square to Neptune. This is still Thursday the 14th. This does not go exact until late on the 15th. So in one way, we're getting one thing mentally worked through, but in another way, we're foggy on what we're doing with the sun square to Neptune. There will be parts of this week that do not make sense, that people will not be getting things clear. They will not be getting things correct. People will mess up. You'll be making your favorite dishes at home that you normally make, and you're going to scorch the pan, and you don't normally scorch anything because you're distracted. You're going to be, doing your normal work, and all of a sudden, la-di-da. Where are you at? I don't know. I just went on a little adventure in my head. Can't focus. There are energies of not being able to focus. And in one way, some people can get mentally clear, but in another way, there's another level of fog. The more mentally clear we're starting to get, or the more traction we're starting to get by going back over the things, because that's what's about to hit, the more we're starting to realize that somebody did not plan something out well, that somebody is not focused, that somebody is in la la land. That's annoying. And if you have planets between, I'm going to say 20 because of the new moon. So 20 and 28 degrees of Pisces, Sagittarius, Virgo, or Gemini. La la land. Be aware that la la land energy is hitting you in some way. Okay. The moon is going to hit this trine to Uranus. This feels exciting. So for some people, this right here can be something completely separate from all the rest of the week, and it's what gets us out of our mental angst and frustration. It just breaks us out a little bit. As we get into the overnight hours, the moon is going to hit a sextile to Neptune while the sun is still entering its square to Neptune. There's a serious break in the fog that's about to commence. And it happens somewhere between here and the moon's conjunction to Pluto. There's something here that it allows for something to mentally break through. And that also speaks to the fact that Mercury will get out of the 8-degree mark. So I've got this at 2:30 in the morning. The moon's in the sextile to Neptune. I keep fast forwarding this to when the moon hits its conjunction to Pluto. That's going to happen between 9 and 11 a.m. You'll see that's when Mercury gets off the 8-degree mark. There's something that's going on overnight between the 14th and the 15th that allows for some mental restoration, some part of our intellectual brain to recapture, to be able to make movement, to be able to get something done. We're not spinning mentally anymore. However, right as Mercury starts to move, what happens? Oh, Jupiter hits that 5-degree mark that he's going to be in a month. And this for a month. So this is a very interesting energy. Mercury is retrograde, going backwards in the sky, but its host Saturn is direct. The sun is always direct, but Jupiter, its host, is starting to spin. And it really kind of comes down to what planets we are being activated by at what times. This is a lot of Saturnian energy to try to get something corrected. But at the same time, there's this hopeful Jupiterian energy of starting to feel stuck. Do we directly feel stuck on the 15th? No, not from Jupiter's point of view. And in fact, not even from Mercury's now, because Mercury's going to be able to start making motion. But there will be an energy that starts to set in after the Sun-Neptune square perfects that feels like we're a little stuck. It's a weird energy. This is a weird week. Okay. The moon's going to make its conjunction to Pluto in the early morning hours, and this feels like an agreement. This feels like a meeting. This feels like trying to see how something has changed, trying to see how something has transformed, trying to talk about how we have healed through something and how we have worked through something. This is a good mental energy. And again, this does feel like it has some semblance of working through an issue, working through a problem, finding a solution. It is going to make us go back over things that we've already gone over because Mercury is retrograde. But it's going to show you the necessary things that we have to go back over. After the moon's conjunction with Pluto, it's going to go void, not a whole lot going on until the moon goes into Aquarius. The moon goes into an Aquarius at 11:56 a.m. Central Standard Time. This is 12:30. I'm not bumping it by minute. Just keep bumping everything by hour. Here's the moon in Aquarius. The moon is now in both Saturn's sign and Uranus's sign. For the first little bit of the moon in Aquarius, there's not a whole lot going on. It's actually not even going to really be anything until we get to the evening. But there will be this busyness, these conversations, these serious conversations, these strategic conversations that are starting to play out, that are needing to be discussed. We're trying to work through this energy of like being resistant to another person, to another situation. We are trying to find a solution of how we overcome the resistance or how we can get them to understand where we're coming from. It's something like this. Now, between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Aquarius is going to square Jupiter. Jupiter that just started to station. Jupiter's questioning. What are you thinking? What are you wanting to do? How do you want to do this? And more than likely, the answer is going to be, I don't know. The moon is questioning Jupiter, but what else is going on? The sun and Neptune are hitting a square in Jupiter's signs. We're going to question what we want to do, how we want to do something, where we're going to go, and the answer is going to be, I don't know. I don't know. What do you want to do for dinner? I don't know. What do you want to do tonight? I don't know. What movie you want to watch? I don't know. Fantasy. Fantasy is what you need. Nothing serious. We need a sci-fi movie. We need fantasy. We need to do something that is going to not take anything seriously. This is not an energy to try to have a serious conversation because you're going to keep getting met with, I don't know. Because we don't. We don't. Don't expect any kind of clear answer Friday night. You're just not going to get one. You're really not. Okay. All right. We're going to get into the 16th. The moon, of course, is still going to be in Aquarius. In the early morning hours, so I'm going to keep getting this there, the moon is going to hit a square from Venus. So I like this. This feels different. Venus is hosting Jupiter. So Venus is a different perspective of Jupiter. Venus has not been a part of any of these transits, not since the Venus-Mercury sextile. And that wasn't even very heavy. Venus is actually in Pluto's signs. So it's more along the lines of like deep levels of understanding what's going on below the surface. Venus gives insight. Some of us are going to be in a place where we can give insight, give a coping mechanism, give something helpful to the moon. very zen, peaceful energy, but this insight results in actions. That is spoken through the fact that after Venus hits this square with the moon, Mars is going to sextile the moon. So the Venus square goes the most exact between 10:30 a.m. and 12:30 in the afternoon. I've got it at 11:30. Mars and the moon will hit their exact sextile between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I've got this at 2:30. Here's the moon. Here's Mars. You can see that their sextile is going on. The Venus is still slightly involved, but Venus gave insight. Venus gave help. Venus gave guidance to a situation, gave a blessing to a situation that immediately goes into an action, how we move forward, how we take something to the next level, how we work through something, how we can get something resolved. Mercury's sextile to the moon is action, but not harsh action. It's more of kind of like excitement. It's a cheerleading action. It's not heavy. All of this week, we've been building to the sun's square to Neptune, and each day has felt confusing. But as we get into the weekend, with the moon being in Aquarius, the moon's in an air sign. It's in Saturn sign, and Saturn is not retrograde. Mercury is now moving again, so our mind is a little bit more freed up. We're finding more solutions. We're getting to terms with something. There's an action here. Shortly after Mars and the moon sextile, the moon is going to enter a square with Uranus. So here's the moon, 19 degrees, 33 minutes, squaring Uranus at 19 degrees, 47 minutes. This goes the most exact between 8 and 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, so you can see that right here. In a lot of ways, we're questioning how somebody did something in the past. We're getting more guidance. We're getting more information. We're getting somebody else's perspective, but it's a perspective that is known. The moon is in Uranus' sign, squaring Uranus in Venus' sign. In a lot of ways, Venus probably said to the moon, go talk to Uranus. Go talk to Uranus. Uranus knows what to do. Uranus has a better perspective. Go talk to this person that you would not normally talk to. Go check out this situation that you wouldn't normally go to. Go do this one exciting thing that you wouldn't normally do. Why? Because it's going to help. Considering the moon square to Uranus is perfecting as the Sun-Neptune square is also perfecting, because this actually goes the most exact around 9:40 p.m. So I'm going to bump this to 9:30. Here's 24 degrees, 54 minutes with the sun. Squaring Neptune, 24 degrees, 55 minutes. The moon has just passed its square with Uranus. This goes from foggy, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know how to fix anything, I don't know what got me here, I don't know what I don't know, to inspired, hopeful, helpful. There's a change as soon as the sun hits its square to Neptune. And the only thing that makes sense to me is because of the moon square to Uranus. We get a different perspective. Talking to somebody that has been in our position in the past, that's worked in these situations in the past, that's been in this type of life in the past, that's been around this person before. And we're getting fresh perspective. We're doing something exciting, and the excitement breaks us out of our fog. It breaks us out of our funk. We feel inspired. We feel hopeful. We're feeling better about some things. We ride this energy all throughout the evening. Now, I want to be super clear about one thing whenever it comes to any time we have like heavy Neptune transits. Get an Uber. If you're going out, get a frickin' Uber, because this can also be a hellacious night for traffic points. That's not what they're called. Checkpoints. There you go. Checkpoints. This is going to be a very big checkpoint night. Get an Uber driver. If you're going to go out, get an Uber driver. If you're wanting to try something you've never tried before, make sure you're doing it at home or at a place that you can stay safely. Do it that way. Okay. Now, in the overnight hours, the moon is going to also have a sextile with the sun. So here's the moon, 25 degrees, 32 minutes, just past the exact sextile with the sun in Sagittarius. This is hopeful and intellectual. If we want to try, if we're trying something that we've never tried before, the night before, that could very much come through with the Sun-Neptune square. This is the next morning going, how do you feel? Different. Very different. I'm okay. If we were doing something else, if we were having a little drinky drink, this is waking up the next morning going, why am I on a jail cell? I know that's a very big dramatic, but I can see both happening. With Neptune squares, I can see the opportunity for both. There can be something here about wanting to try something in the overnight hours from Friday into Saturday that we've never tried before, something that's very exciting, something that's meant to open our mind and open our perspective, something that can help. It will fog us in the moment, but unfog us afterwards because of the way the experience plays out. I know that's super specific. I can see how part of that can go. We're trying something for the first time, knowing it's going to cloud our senses in the moment, but the way that we wake up the next day is completely different. And we are over something. We are clear on something. We are feeling better about something. The energy of the weekend does feel different from the energy of the week. We need the mental break of the weekend. Okay. After the moon's sextile with Neptune, the moon's going to go void. So we're not going to get a whole lot accomplished whenever it comes to Sunday morning. Don't expect to get a whole lot accomplished anyways next weekend. Like, next weekend is not the weekend to clean out the garage. It is not the weekend to take out a project. It is not the weekend to do that. The moon is going to go into Pisces at 1:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. The sun and Neptune will still be separating. So again, we still have something where we're a little lethargic. We don't have a lot of energy. Once the moon gets into Pisces, I don't really feel like we're going to have a lot of energy. We've still got something that we are not completely clear on. We know that there's some level of resistancy between us and another person, and that's going to be a big part of the topic that we get into whenever we get into Monday. But some element of this weekend was working through something as individuals, so that way we can deal with that topic on Monday. The moon is going to make a conjunction to Saturn. This is going to happen between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is sitting down with the elder. This is sitting down with, somebody that we consider, a responsible individual. This is talking to somebody about our responsibilities. This is talking to somebody about our recent decisions. This is talking to somebody about a decision we are about to commence and make and be a part of. Why do I say it that way? Because the moon is making a conjunction to Saturn in Jupiter's sign, and literally the next day, Mercury and Jupiter are going to have their second trine. So in some element, the moon's conjunction to Saturn is coming to terms with something, but I don't feel like it. I feel like in one way we're telling one person what we've decided, but we're not going to be fully involved with that excitement or fully expressing that decision in the moment. There's not a lot of energy. In fact, very lethargic. We need to rest. We need to rest. We need to get over something. Now we get to this energy right here. So this is actually going to happen between 10 p.m. on the 17th and 1:30 a.m. on Monday the 18th. So I'm going to brush over part of this now just to be clear that the actual energy involved takes place on Monday. Just because we're lethargic, just because we're tired, just because we have had so much drainage between the Sun-Neptune square, because that has been an exhausting energy, doesn't mean that we're not mentally busy. Doesn't mean that we're not emotionally trying to get clear on something. And there can be a lot of emotions about whatever we're about to talk about with somebody come Monday. And this feels like it comes through in the later parts of Sunday. And what happens is the moon is going to sextile Jupiter, sextile Mercury, right as the moon and Mercury actually enter their second trine. So again, there's something here that speaks to something that's about to happen, that we've come to terms with, we've made a decision that's going to happen, but is not happening in the moment. And we got to wrap our head around it. But not only wrapping our head around it, we also have to emotionally prepare for where the conversation is going to go. And this is like that mental, emotional preparing. There's a lot there, but it doesn't take place all on Sunday night. For a lot more people, it's going to take place on Monday of the week following. Not so much the late parts of Sunday. There's a whole slew of energy this week. I'm not sugarcoating that. Some of us are going to feel like a damn pinball. Ting, 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 ting. Because of the way this energy starts this week, and because of the way the energy is going to continue throughout this week. We're going to feel like we're being pushed and shoved and hitting walls all the time, bouncing from one place to another and never getting anything accomplished. This is not a week of getting anything accomplished. The things that we try to start this week are going to be met with hesitancy. They're going to be met with resistance. I feel the resistance more than I feel anything else. Some people are going to be trying to start something with a certain person that we're trying to reconnect with. But there's a hesitancy because we don't want to say the wrong thing, ruin everything. But at the same time, we don't know how to continue. And there's a hesitancy. For some people, we're trying to connect and we're trying to do something again. And who people we're trying to connect with, they're resistant. They're resistant in the moment because, again, hesitancy. But in other ways, other people are resisting. You know, you and I are talking, but my husband ain't happy about it. You and I are talking again, but my girlfriend, my best friend, my whoever, they ain't happy about it. But what's going on between you and that person is actually none of their damn concern, because the situation that needs to be healed in this moment is between you and that person. Everybody's got an opinion, but not everybody pays your bills. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. Sometimes our best friend is the asshole. Sometimes we're the asshole. Don't let every asshole impact your mood. Because the thing is, this week, they can. They can get into your head. And they can keep you from making the right decisions. And they can impress their will on you. And then you're going to be dealing with something later on that you don't want to deal with again, but you're going to get stuck doing it because Mercury's retrograde. Mercury is retrograde. Again, there's a part of this week that I'm still intuitively blocked on. And it's something that plays out between that new moon and Mercury's retrograde. And for some people, again, that energy is going to initiate an energy of resistance and not being okay with something and not seeing eye to eye with somebody. And we're not going to be clear about what that is and be able to overcome a lot of what that is until the Mercury Cazimi. That's December 22nd. However, it all comes down to, again, personal responsibility and personal karma. And if we're in alignment with where we're going next, what we're going to see when Mercury turns retrograde is going to be a flip of the script in other people that has been resistant already. And they're going to feel so much going on in their own lives and be like, somebody make sense of what's going on here. I need help. I need an adult. I need an adult. I need an adult. I need an adult. And some of us are going to have to be the adultier adult in that situation. I don't feel like it's going to be a great Mercury retrograde for everybody. And again, if you've made the strategic, responsible decisions up until this point, you will see a good turn in the first part of the Mercury retrograde. I say the first part because once Mercury goes back into Sag, all bets are off. I don't care where your karma's at. I personally feel like I have good karma. I know a lot of people, they have really good karma, but I also know a lot of people, they don't have good karma at all. And I feel like once Mercury goes back into Sag, all bets are off. But we got some days before then. And we have a lot of things we need to put in order and put into perspective for ourselves and for other people around us in the meantime. I hope everybody has a good week. I hope this Mercury retrograde brings you so much luck and good fortune and shifts in clients and shifts in everything that you're needing right now. I hope for the best for everybody. But I'm realistic that some people are going to start this Mercury retrograde off with a huge headache. It is what it is. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.